So we had considered the idea that you as an individual could create multiple live stories, and that then those would be arranged in. You can obviously reorder how those are arranged, whether a date order or a name order or whatever it is, because it just might be easier for some people to do that. Also, for instance, if you were say that you are a staff member within within a care home, for instance, it might be easiest for you to help your customers to build stories within your own account and those kind of things as well, so that we can try and manage that concept. So I think that creating stuff for your ancestors should be entirely doable within the platform as currently outlined.
Thank you. We're having technical difficulties here. So in terms of social distancing, I'm just going to get a bit further away so that Sheena's still within our conversations. There we go. Sorry, everybody, that you may have seen we were slightly distracted there, just trying to find a different way. So the bit that I can see, Sammy, you've responded to Good Spot to Alan on Facebook. It does look like a file of facts, and yes, the tabs would be on the
right-hand side.
Sorry, terminology.
Royal Horticultural Society.
Yes, I could. I was thinking I can't get there quick enough. Could you explain that a little bit more in terms of that? Yeah.
Yes. There was a Facebook post actually. A question came through about why have Chris and Reese decided to put the tabs on the left-hand side, as opposed to generally looking at the aesthetics of it, they would be on the right-hand side, and then you're turning left.
Well, yeah, I can't speak for Reese. I say quickly that I'm left-handed, so I like to have my navigation on the right-hand side, but I know most people used to have it on the left. So
I'm left-handed, and I like mine on the left.
I suppose what you're saying there is that if you were turning the pages of a book, your tabs would be down the right-hand side, because you'd be, as in an old file of facts, you'd be doing that.
But the left-hand side navigation is largely for going between chapters. If you're actually scrolling through the book, it's still right-hand side, because the next is on the right-hand side, so it's still going the way you'd expect.
Yeah, I think it's because it's visually like a file of facts, doesn't it? It makes your mind think it's a file of facts, so it should be.
We can always give people the option. That might be the simplest way. Which side would you like for navigation?
Julie, did you want to come?
Yes, I was just going to say, for people who have stroke, sometimes they might have some visual neglect, and it's more common on the left-hand side. So I was just thinking, if you're thinking about people who have sort of other neurological problems, potentially that's something to consider, that when you present it, that there may be that neglect on one side. It's more common on the left-hand side. But
you're correct,
it'd be interesting to be able to choose that then, if you know that person actually is inattentive to the left-hand side, then perhaps you might want to have it on the right for those individuals.
Thank you, Julie. Sorry, Chris.
No, it's a really good point. You're quite right. I've forgotten there is often a bias to the left, despite my early years working in a nursing home. So yeah, I mean, I think probably giving people the option is the way to go. I mean, to switch one we choose as a default. So does anyone want to stick their hands up for the right hand side?
I'd like to see it. Sorry to be so awkward, but I'm thinking in terms of beta testing, and I'm quite a visual person. I'm trying to get a sense of what that would look like. I don't know if that would help. I don't know how. I suppose if we're having both options, we can then decide what the default is once.
Yeah, I think we'd like to work out as well, so we'll do that.
Did people have it? Most people, I think, went for a preference for the right anyway. Is that right? Yes. Hands up again, sorry, just so we can count. We've got Leslie and Catherine. I won't turn to them because I got told off. Right's preferable, Chris.
Yep.
To be noted.
Thanks, Reese.
No problem, Harry.
If we are struggling a little bit with the chat that I've got, so if I miss a question or we've done that, please put your hand up so we don't miss things. But Greg has written, offer a getting tired, place your bookmark here and come back later or tomorrow. This would mimic what people often do with books at home. What do people think? Thumbs up. Di, you look like you were talking, but you were on mute at the time. Or you've disappeared.
Just agreeing.
Oh, no, sorry. That's.
There was just one thing while I'm speaking. I don't know if it is sort of relevant because we have talked about the different cultures in the city, but what about people who haven't got English as their first language?
Yeah, Chris and Reese and nodding. Do you want to answer to that?
I mean, the way that we quite often do these things is through services like Google Translate, which it gets better over time and can deal with lots of different languages and indeed character sets. Something dynamic of that sort is probably the best way to go. Unless we're going to find translators, unless the taxes budget runs to translators, but then you have to translate people's words on the fly as well. So I think that we need to be able to support the character sets that allow people to write in their own language. But so probably something that translates the whole page, like Google Translate, would be the best way to go for it.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. It was definitely a thought that crossed my mind when I was putting it together. And yeah, that kind of just ability for people to write in their own character set would be key, really.
And indeed direction.
Sue, did you want to come in there?
No, I was just moving my head, I think.
I'm sorry about Julie. Sorry. Yes.
I was just wondering about for some people, maybe they might enjoy just speaking and recording, saying something about the picture rather than typing. And then if it's perhaps somebody who doesn't speak English as first language, then it would be lovely if that could actually write, like a dragon. What was it? Dragon.
Naturally speaking.
So it basically writes it for them. And then obviously if somebody's speaking another language, but they have carers who are predominantly English speaking, then you've also got a translation as a possibility.
Yeah,
that might be over ambitious, but
it's always good to suggest it.
It's one of those things where,
yeah.
to some extent, that I think that kind of functionality is it's a really nice idea. Again, it's something we can bear in mind. I think it's going to really depend on the capabilities of the computer system they're writing it on. For instance, Apple machines are just starting to roll out that kind of functionality, which we could then hook into. But if people are using older laptops where there's some terrible version of Windows on, then by necessity, that kind of thing is not going to be available to us. But again, it's one of those things. If we can get the sort of the thing out and working, it may be that later on down the line that it's a big success and we get some more funding for it to look into these things, or indeed that the technology moves along fast enough that we can relatively easily incorporate it.
And Chris, I think you and Reese mentioned it earlier, and I may not have noticed it in this workshop, but we did say that people would, perhaps not as you were saying, Julie, with the Dragon Dictate, but that people could record their audio, record their memory verbally, and then that would be on the page. I've not misled people on that being still an option?
No, I mean, you might have noticed it when Reese was showing the settings that we kind of we're planning that in, and planning to do it on sort of like a page by page basis, because then we don't have to try worrying about syncing things up across a video, because when you're on that page, it would then speak what's on that page, and that stuff is, again, if the operating system has the services to do it, and most of the modern ones do, then we can incorporate that.
I think
Sorry, Julie.
I was going to say, I think that would be a lovely function, because then you can also get family members to prompt about the picture. So you could get a family person to sort of say something and have that recording and hear the family's voice, potentially family member's voice. That'd be lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where voices. Dragon came out sort of, I don't know what, the late 90s or something, but texting has always been a difficult. It's always been a difficult, and it's only now starting to come. In the last few years, as we start to look at things like Alexa, where the artificial intelligence in these devices is getting good enough to understand someone's speech patterns, and even then they're still struggling a bit. But the more we can do with voice, the better, I think. But it's not something that we would hook into what the operating systems can do, rather than trying to write a whole translation program ourselves.
Chris, can I ask, if someone's playing it as a video and they've uploaded, say, an audio, so if it was my parents and this is the place that we got married, and then the next one moved to, these are our 3 children, is it that when the video is playing, that as each sort of slide came up, you would be able to have the person speaking at that point?
Yeah, that's the idea. So the slide would effectively last either a minimum time, or at least the time that the person has been speaking for. That's the plan.
In terms of length of time, minimum time on a slide, is that something that you've given consideration to, or is that something where, as people are listening now, what would be, if you had the slideshow, what's the minimum recommended time? Do we know?
Well, I mean, there are recommended reading speeds, and I think what we try and do is to look at, roughly speaking, how many words there were on that page, and then add some more time in. That's the kind of way I've been thinking about it, because obviously if it's a page with just one line on it, then it's the required time is less than a page with a few paragraphs. So I was kind of thinking of that kind of way. Obviously, you can pause a video as well, but again, that's partly why I want to provide it in a number of different formats, so people can work out the best way to enjoy it.
Yeah. What do people think of that idea? Because I guess for me, there was also something about how you engage in the image. So even if there's potentially less text, the image may, in terms of that video, in terms of what Chris was saying, and you're right, you can pause it, but if it was coming up, would there be a minute? What do people think? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that something that, I guess for me, Chris, that you're right, there would be something in terms of the minimum time for reading speed, but then and it may be something to come back to about the minimum time that you'd have just in terms of, I don't know, if someone came into the room and that image was there, that you could have a conversation around, well, not necessarily a conversation, but enough time to sort of pause it or have more time with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Barry, were you about to say something? No, it's right. When I notice a finger go up, it's that bit. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we're going to have to try and work it out when we come to it. I mean, and no, nothing's going to be absolutely perfect, because your context is different. The first time you look at that image, you might want to have it, look at it, stare at it deeply and meaningfully for 5 minutes. But the next time you go, well, I've already looked at that one, I'll skip over it in 30 seconds. That's never going to be perfect. And I don't think that the video is necessarily the perfect way for interacting with it. It's a convenient way. I just don't think it's the best way.
No, it's
but,
one
it's an option.
But we are expecting perfect, though. Just no pressure there.
And why not? After all, it's own technology.
You told me anything was possible. That's what
Given them time and money, that's the second part of that.
Sorry, John, you've written, would be good to have a large tab setting for users with less firm hands and difficulty pressing in a spot easily.
Yeah, that's I think that's good.
And I think you did say that earlier. I'm aware of time, and I'm sorry for taking that. I'll just see if there's any other. So continuing the theme of making it look like a book experience. Use terms such as pick up your pen and log in, author sign in, and put down your pen and log out. So Greg, that was a suggestion in terms of the language that perhaps is used. That's really interesting actually, because people were saying yesterday, Shirley hasn't been able to stay with us, unfortunately. But thinking about the language that we use did come up in terms of importance about it making sense and not being too jargonistic.
Yeah, I really like the author thing. I think pick up your pen and log in will be really misleading because people were thinking, well, what pen? But I think author is a really good, but it's much better than user. It's a really good suggestion.
Yeah, definitely agree on that point.
Yeah, thank you, Reece. Julie, did you want to come in there just as we?
Can I just ask, will you be able to give people the option to have their password saved? Because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm pretty terrible with remembering passwords. So I was wondering if that would be an option for people, that once they've started using it, that they can choose not to have to remember the password that they use.
Yes, it's a bit like what I was saying earlier about if you use Facebook, you after you first registered, you barely notice, unless you actually log out of Facebook, you never really have to log in again, and that's really how it should be.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think coming back to that, one of the things that we're thinking outside of the workshop at the moment is just thinking about how to keep it secure and safe and easily accessible, isn't it? So those are ongoing sort of conversations, including the sharing.
Yes.
Just on that last bit, we've got so from Paul, I find the voice bit interesting as well as drag and dictate. How powerful would it be for the author to have their voice recorded and leave a message? Family members would be able to listen to their family members speak in the future. Or it gives you because it is that there's so many options to it, Paul. Sorry, Chris, I've had one of those heart sing moments. Did you want to respond? Was that just a comment, Paul?
Yeah, just a comment, really. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to use voice, you could use it as a powerful tool. Yeah, because it also encourages people to talk. So, if you're working in a care home setting as well, and you want people to talk as well, it encourages them to talk, but it adds a longevity to it. I mean, I'm thinking of grandchildren and that for the future. How powerful would their story be if you could actually hear them actually talking a little bit as well?
Yeah, Sammy, you've just done the heart. It's made, if you've just got it is that. What a lovely way in terms of. Sorry, Chris.
No, I was agreeing with that, and you're quite right with the ability for people to record a message on any page. Really, is what we're looking at. Really, because latterly those pages might be things like, I don't like that, Julie.
As we, I was just thinking about that being a lovely way in terms of, I'm aware that we're coming to time. Chris and Reece have been working really hard in the background in terms of Glyn. I know that you're here. One of the things that we've only mentioned briefly, I guess, are those where I said have a mini Sheena with you to have those packs. That what we're and sporting memories have been very prominent in terms of what people would like.
Yeah.
The plan, and Chris will rein me in here. The plan for the 18th is to build on what we've just been talking about today, and to talk a little bit more in terms of the remainder of the platform. So we're looking at the 18th of December. Will be a time when we'll come back and continue this conversation. And as Chris and Reece were saying earlier in their presentation, with the idea. Chris, tell me if I've got this wrong. In the new year, that's when once all those ideas are there, you'll begin coding and building the platform so that we can actually start having a play, for it better. What would you say? Beta testing.
Yeah. Yes, it's a UAT. User acceptance testing is a technical term, but yes, exactly, beta testing. We've started to work on this workflow. We started to give we've given our specification to our techies, who are probably even now having heart attacks. So
I was just wondering, is it would it be something that might help everybody if, say, for example, I send a sporting YouTube or a document to Reese, and Reese posted it and said, look, yeah, if it comes in that format, it's an easy way to access the site. And or do you think wait till January kind of thing? If you've got stuff ready to go, would it be useful? That's what I'm saying, to send it sooner rather than later, just to, as a pilot study, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably that'll be after Christmas, because things don't work yet. There's nothing behind it just yet. So, but if you're busy gathering stuff, then so much the better.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think, sorry, Glenn, I didn't mean to cut you off there. John's written, I'm happy to alpha test version if it helps. And if I remember correctly, we were hoping that, thinking about Sammy and Paul and other people and Julie in terms of for our wards, that we would be able have a site that people could go to so that the testing could be wider than the workshop. So you can really sort of test it out and see, I say, are we getting it right? But Chris, of course, that's you. So thank you, everyone. I realise we're 1 minute past 4. Thank you for sticking for the whole hour and a half. I know it's a long time, and we'll be grabbing a tea. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm really excited. I've had those heart-sing moments where you can really start to see the difference it's going to make for people. Sorry?
It looks really promising. It's quite logical how we're setting this thing up, I think.
Yeah. And I realise that it's quite close to Christmas, but I guess I'm doing a mini plea right now that if we weren't sure if people were Christmas shopping, but if you do it before 1:30 or 2:30 even, and then come and join us. We'll do a virtual mince pie and a cup of tea. So take care, everybody, and hopefully see you on the 18th of December. Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.